So the first thing that I want to kind of talk about in continuation with where we are as a team, right? I hope you guys are taking the time to actually go through this document because it shows during the training sessions and it shows during the games whether or not you are or you aren't. Um, and I can tell certain players that have done it and how they're better positioned, right? I still think there's a lot of work to be had in understanding what space actually really means. But I want to go back to what we talked about last week with the goalie and the defender, and then talk through this a little bit. So the way we typically like to play, and you can see from this, is to play out of the back. What I've realized with our team thus far is until we will continue to practice this, but we're not going to adhere to it 100%. And here's why. As a player in the game, you can't be robotic. You have to actually assess your situation, right? What I've provided here is a guideline that you can follow. That guideline ensures that you at least have the idea in your head of how the other people on your team are actually playing. This is key. You should adhere probably about 90% to this. 80 to 90% is exactly how this document looks. The other 10 or 20% depends on the actual game situation itself. If I, for example, let's say, oh, we love playing out of the back and all our people are in the right position, right? Our wingers need to be on the line at an angle that can allow them to receive a pass without having this opponent block it. So if the opponent's here, your option's here, right? If the opponent goes down here, your option's even deeper, but you're staying on the line. Width is very important. However, let's assume they press because they've seen us do it a couple of times. So they move everybody up here, right? There's not a large numerical advantage at this point. They can technically almost mark us man for man. In scenarios like this, it is definitely within the keeper or the defensive back's mind to play over the top, right? To get rid of the ball. So what happens is, and the secret to soccer, as the other team is playing, you're reading a book. They're actually reading you a book, their script of how they're going to engage you. As a player, you can't be robotic. I've seen situations just because coaches are training us to play out, they're literally standing on the line getting ready for this pass, and we still do it, which makes no sense to me, right? You have to read the situation and say, you know what? That is actually very dangerous. I need to, as a keeper, go over the top into space and alleviate that pressure.
The computer.
It is very, it is very important as a player to read. Just because you have the ball and you put it down at your feet and coach says, hey, we've been practicing this, right? And this and this. You got to look and say, you know what? They're covering all this already. They're really pressing up on this. Let's say they shift it like this. The actual play is then to go across and go up this way because where is the space? It's here, right? That's where the space is. So I want to kind of give you guys and you have to read this document as a way of thinking, hey, this is a guideline of how things ought to be, but this is not the Bible in the sense that you have to follow everything by word for word. Please. Actually, as our team's been playing, what I've noticed is our skills are still being worked on. We will continue to practice this during practice, but for the time being, if you see the other team pressing up real high, right? They're real high. You have the autonomy as a keeper or as a defense kicking the ball up to go over the top. And if you go over the top, I would prefer you go over the top in these areas, right? Look to go at an angle into these area. If you're on that side, it goes here. If the ball's on this side, you're going over the top here to release the pressure. Because usually when you go down the middle, it'll just come right back down the middle. If you go on the wing, it'll give our opportunity to press. And when you press forward, what happens is it relieves the pressure in the back. In the last couple of games that I saw, we got 2 or 3 goals scored on us because we literally gave the ball up here. And it was just a quick shot. So we'll work on that. 2 options. You can go forward from the back all the way up, or you can go short. If they're sitting back, go short, right? If they're sitting back and they're all in their specific position and they're far away, yeah, I mean, keeper, play it out. And on a goal kick, goalkeepers, you can put the ball in the middle. You don't have to necessarily be on the side, right? You can keep the ball in the middle, which then gives you the option of going either way. You could go here or you could go there. Or if they're pressed up, like I said, go across the top or as an option to release pressure. As they come and they compress on us, we don't want to be in a situation where we're trying to be cute. If everybody is in the box and it's a scramble, right? It's a scramble to get the ball out. And I've seen us do this. We're still trying to play out in a cute manner. I would rather us in a situation like this, and you have the ball, and let's say the keeper has the ball or left back, and there's no other option to go out. If this is not an option, then go over the top, release pressure, and then we reset, right? We have to understand that as a team in order to play with intelligence, right? And so this is something that is extremely important. The next thing I want to talk about, and we're reviewing a little bit, is let's say the ball is up here. So I'll shift everything up here for the time being. And let's say the other team has moved back. They're right here. We're right here. We're right here. I saw Isaac do this as a keeper, do this during a game. And I was actually quite happy, right? Let's say we're moving like this. A couple of our keepers, they sit back here. Why? Why? You're waiting for the other team to get the ball. I want you to play like the last man defender. Up. There's not too many kids at this age that can get the ball here and hit a 50, 60-yard ball over your head into the goal. There's not. I want you to move out. And the reason why is usually it pings around, we lose it. And the first thought for most kids is straight over the top, right? Or long down the line. This gives you such an advantage because if this guy's chasing, he's chasing a ball that's running away from him. And you are coming and cutting off the ball where it's coming towards you. Even if he's fast and if you time it right, you'll get to the ball 9 out of 10 times, right? And even if he pokes it by you, chances are it'll be in such a position outside that there's time for other players to come back. So I saw Isaac do this a couple of times against One Ivy, and I really liked it because this is what we want to be. We want to be smart because usually he'll beat one guy, it'll flow too far. You come out early and you clear it. And please clear it at this angle or this angle. Don't kick it straight down the field where it can go right to somebody or we lose it and it comes right back to us. Okay? So these are a few things that I saw in the last game that I want to bring up as things for us to consider. When it's in the box, when it's in our box, don't be cute. Unless you're 100% sure that going wide has the option for us to go down here and then eventually up here, then I would rather you clear the danger, which is over the top, or over the top, so that we can release that pressure. And as that ball goes out, you're not walking out. You're pressing up. You're pressing up immediately. Understood? Pressing up immediately to make and have a sustained area of pressure in the middle of the field, right? In the middle of the field, not in our danger area. The game that we played on Monday, we got scored on 4 or 5 times because we were trying to be cute and our clearance literally went like this. I mean, put a foot through it. This is the one time you get the ball, you send it as far down the field as possible, right? So we have to understand where we are. And this goes back to this view right here. This is our danger area. This is our danger area. If the ball is here, I would rather you clear it out of the danger area, outside of the caution area as well, so that we can reset as a team. Once we clear it, we don't sit there and go, shoot, so awesome. We push up as a team. We press immediately as a team, right? So that is very important. The last reminder is this. I don't see us doing the 10-10. I see us being, this is what we do. Our defenders typically sit a little far because they think, oh, the ball's out of my area. Why do I have to do anything? I'm not defending right now. So what they do is they sit back far. A, you're keeping people on sides. And B, you're not within this 10-10. You need to be within this 10 yards, right? You need to be up here. This is 1 line. This is 2 lines. This is 3 lines. And this here distance is 10. We need to stay compact. So what is the secret? The secret is, and I will sort of talk to this a little bit because some of you, actually, I know a few of you have read this and actually gotten a lot better. And some of you are still doing the same mistake. Look at this structure. And this structure, right? Defense, we compress. That means coming in, compressing in to ensure the wingers come in. The wingers come in. We're a very tight unit. We play 2/3 of the field, right? So once we're on offense, we stay in a 10-yard distance. But what we need to do is get wide. Wide. 1, 2. You guys are literally almost on the line. You're not, if you're looking here, I'm not in here. I'm literally almost on the line. I mean, if the ball's on this side, that side winger should be almost on the line. Why? It makes it so that this defender has to cover a lot of space to get to you or decide, stay with this guy. And if he stays in the middle, look at the time that you have, right? If you come in here, what you're doing is you're creating a distance that's very easy for the defender to defend. And I'm seeing this a lot in our games. And I'm seeing this in our practices where you guys see the ball and you're running to it. Stay away from the ball. You know why? Because this ball to the outside is the same as this ball to the outside. But there's a huge difference in terms of the time that it takes for this number 9 to close this space. If you're in, one guy guards 2. And here's the other thing. There's channels that we want to keep the defense spread. If I went and I showed you this concept, let's divide up the field into its lanes, right? Let's divide it up into the lanes. On offense, this is offensive. Look at how we're structured. One lane, there's someone occupying. Another lane, there's someone occupying. The middle lane, there's someone occupying. This lane, there's someone occupying. In this lane, there's someone occupying. What does this force the defense to do? It forces them to stay with their man. It forces them to work into a space where there are gaps. Look at this gap, right? Look at this gap between, and I'll change the color so that you guys get to see. Look at this gap. Look at this gap. Look at this gap. These are all gaps that if we played the ball through, it would be a lot easier to go through than if this guy was standing right here, or if this guy was standing right here, or if this guy was standing right here. And they can stay compressed because we're narrow. You understand the importance of these lanes? These lanes are extremely important. And you, based on how we do it, this is lane 1, this is lane 2, this is lane 3, 4, and 5. We have to occupy that on offense. It makes it extremely difficult if we stay wide, right? Let's say our boys stay wide. I'll stay wide. And then we go and now these defenders have to defend. Now they have to defend. Look how spread out they are. That means we got space. That means we have time. That's why we work on the pass. That's why we don't give the little pass that's slow. We actually pass it because this is what we're working on. Direct and firm so that it gets there so that the DM, defensive midfielder, has time. You understand? We want to spread them out because it creates distance between their defenders. They cannot overlap us in a way that makes it easy for them to defend us. There's gaps for us to sit in as a forward, right? There's gaps for us potentially to sit in. There's gaps for us to stay behind. Like if I drew all the pictures of all the squares that they have, or all the rectangles, or triangles that they have, look at what they have. That's a horrible one. This is what you guys have to think of. When I say find space, when I say get open, these little pockets are, if I wrote like here's, and I need you guys to understand this because I tell you get open and you have no clue what that means right now, right? You need to understand this is A, this is B, C, C, D, E, F, G. And then the reality is there's all this space in the back too. And there's all this space right here too, right? So if you look, when I say find space, and it's important for the DM and the CM to understand this. If I said, hey, A is a space, B is a space, D is a space, C is a space. These are all the areas that we occupy. If we were occupied like this, if we stayed like this, how are they going to guard us? If this guy moves in, that closes this angle, which means it opens up this angle. Does that make sense? When I say get open, you're finding the spot within a triangle of the defender or a square of a defender where your own teammates aren't there. You wouldn't do this. You would spread out. And this is why it's important for us to look at this, right? Look at this and stay wide. And if you're standing within that line of path, you need to find a space. You need to find this space, A, right? You need to find here. You need to look here. This gives this guy options. He can go here. They close. You can go back. Very important. And I want Landon, do you have a question?
So, whenever some guy moves in the triangle thingy, like the shape where you get open, if some guy moves, it's like a
It
web.
closes the shape.
It opens it up and closes it up. It's like a web.
Yeah. Watch. I'll change this map. Look what happens. Look what happens when let's say you're about to pass to DM, right? If he thinks that you're going to pass, what he's going to do is he's going to close this angle. Look at how this angle now changes, right? Look at how this angle now changes. If he moves and everyone stays the same, the angle that is now available, right, becomes this. So let's say you are player DM. You know that the guy on the left the other CM. So if the ball gets played here, you instantly know that the bigger you try to get this to the biggest here, let me see, F, G, H. I'll put H here. This is H, okay? Sorry, I didn't put that in. I didn't put that line in. But if you see that there is this H option here, because he moved from here to here, it creates C and H get smaller, A and B gets larger. We want to find the largest triangle as a team, because that means you have the most time if you reside there, right? And this is why I told you during practice, we have to be patient. If you are sitting in B, let's say, whoops, right? Oh, I did have something. I'm sorry. Let me put that back in. Let me put that back in here so we can continue with this discussion. Let's say you're sitting in A and B. Do you move into D? No. Why? You know that within one pass, right? Within this pass since section one, oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3. You're gonna get it on the third pass. Be patient. Be patient. And this is what you guys need to recognize in terms of space. Every time someone moves, that triangle or that square gets bigger or smaller, right? It shifts. It shifts significantly. And so we need to understand that as a team. When I'm saying on offense, space, find space. Don't come checking in. I mean, unless he's in trouble and you need to check in to just release the pressure, fine. But if he's not, stay far away from him. Occupy these spaces, right? Occupy these spaces. If, let's say, CM might end up being up here, and if that's a good pass, a firm pass, an accurate pass, you've beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with one pass into a space. You need to understand this. So let me review one more time. When we're on offense, I want the wingers wide to create bigger triangles, right? I want, when I say find space, CM, DM, defensive mid, center mid, forwards, sit in one of these gaps. As a forward, I'd rather you sit on the opposite side with the thought that once the ball is in a position, let's say he gets it here and he's able to turn with it, right? And the ball's here. This is the run that you make. You can run here if he sees it. No, well, let me kind of do that. You can run here, right? Or you can run across his body and through here, right? And if this is and that's option A, option B. If this guy shifts, which opens up that gap, center midfield can shoot or can send a pass directly into this space as well. Right? I hope this makes sense. Yes, Jet.
I just had a question about earlier on the goal kicks.
Yep.
So when the left wing is on the line, I know you're not supposed to kick it to the middle. So when the goalkeeper kicks it to the defense,
Yep.
the wings are supposed to go out to give them an option. But what if your man is guarding you? What does the wing do?
So if your man is guarding you, right? Let's say he's guarding you and there's no option. That means that the DM right here needs to flow into an area, because here's what's happening. And I'm keeping the lines there for a reason, right? I'm keeping all these lines there because I want to go back to that concept. He's being pressed. He's guarding you. That means he can't come here. Your job as a defensive midfielder is to float in this space to receive this pass. If he's guarding in between the two, like right here, then the right midfield come back here. Right? He comes here, you play him, you run up, he gives it back. right? You got to take a better angle. You actually can come all the way back. There's no rhyme or reason why you can't even come back here. If he's pressing and you come back all the way and you receive this ball, chances are he's out of position. Chances are you have this space. You have this space to run into. And if the midfield is right there, DM sits there, CM sits in a location right here, and you come up, all it is a simple pass in the middle or a simple pass up. Right? So Landon, you asked the question, and then we'll go back to Jet if he has one still. Yes, Landon.
So, so it's like a 3 lanes of car. There's 3 lanes for the highway, and there has to be, and our team is like cars, and each of our car or teammates have to be in each lane, and the other team is trying to get closer to our side, and we're trying to get closer to their side.
I mean, in a nutshell, you want to occupy the lanes, because by occupying the lanes, what you're doing is you're spreading the other field. You're spreading the field out, right? Like, let's say the ball is attacking and it's on this side. This winger can still stay wide. He can come in a little bit, but staying wide forces this defender to come out. He can't go deep in to press. He has to stay out with you, right? And that's the key. The key here is to create space. If you, and I'm going to just do this as a quick, I'm going to remove all this, right? I'll keep, so we know the lanes already. I want to do this. Let's take this example. This triangle E is pretty big, right? You sit in the middle, you're in a decent spot. And there's nuances to this, but the concept needs to be understood that you want to be somewhere in the middle of that triangle. And we can talk about where you are. Are you closer to this? Are you closer to the line? But you're in that triangle. As a midfielder, you have to understand this space. If you're standing in between, it's not as good as if you find a space. And you want to stay away from the ball if you can, because that ball can travel this distance, or it can travel this distance in almost the same amount of time. If you give a hard pass here, it'll get there before anyone actually moves. And this is why your first touch and how accurate you pass is so important to the game. And this is why coaches are constantly, what are we practicing at practice? Passing drills, right? Why? Because we want to be able to pass accurately 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times and have the other team chase us. Have we shown that in our games lately? No, because the skill level is not there. Some kids might pass and other kids might not be moving into the spaces that they need to be to receive. So it's two things. The pass needs to be there and the man needs to be there, right? So that's the premise behind this. But I want to show you the difference between those two things. And I want to make sure that you really understand this point because it's extremely important. And I haven't progressed up to the other sections down here, right? I haven't gone to what a winger should do yet because we need to understand this concept. Now, let's take an example. Let's say 2, 7, and 5 are there. That area that you see here is tiny. There's nowhere to sit there, right? And the only reason why they're able to do this is because everybody is so close together that it allows them to be able to guard in such a small area. If we spread out, let's say, in that scenario, then, oh my goodness, let's say he's sitting right here. Oh, right defense, I'm sorry, he's right here. Goalkeeper's back here, left defense is here, center mid is here, and here. Let's say we stay in this area and they decide as a group to guard this space. Do you think that's smart? Look at how many people are open. This one guy, let's say he's the star of the team, the defensive mid. They decide to put 3 guys on him. Look at the options now you have if everyone moved into the areas that they're occupying, right? let's say that these guys are moving here. You have so much space here. This guy could literally dribble up by himself if he wanted to. As he's dribbling up, these guys move away, drawing this defender. Now the decision needs to be had. Do I leave my guy to come to the ball, or do I stay with my man? And they always teach you up here, you want to stay with your runners, right? Because the pass, if you are in no man's land and they pass through, now you're sprinting, you're behind. So they tell you stay with your runners until it gets into the danger area. That's when you have to decide, I got to stop the ball. But for the most part, if you guys just started running away at this point from him or getting a different angle, 4 and 9 have no idea what to do. Yes, Jeff.
On defense, you know how you say if we're supposed to stay compressed, so
Yeah.
not a lot of options. If they were spread out, they could easily just pass it to the
No, and that's fine. So here's the counter to that. That's an excellent question, an excellent observation, because I tell you guys, most of the teams that we play aren't good enough to do what I'm going to show you that they're going to do. So I'm removing all these things so I can kind of reset this, okay? What we have to understand is when we play compressed, and I'll show you a diagram that I created in the document to kind of go through this a little bit, right? Let's go here. So here, when we stay compressed, yeah, most players at your age aren't looking beyond 1, 2, 3 lines. They're not. Actually, even adult players don't do that. They don't have, and if you stay so compressed, it looks like there are no options here. That's what other teams have done to us, right? They stay in a compressed area and our boys are like, where are we doing? They're going to kick the ball. Most of them will kick the ball long to get rid of the pressure so they don't have to do it. The ECNL game that we played, guess what they did? They took that and they went back to their keeper so then he can reset the team to take that pressure off. We've done our job. What is the job of the defense? To win the ball back? That's secondary. The primary goal of defense is to stop forward progression. Make them go backwards. You've done your job. You don't necessarily have to win the ball. They're just not getting into your make a stand danger area, right? So let's say he's here. If you see, and you can, and I can teach this, if he has the ball at his foot and he's dribbling, he's not going to be able to kick a ball 40 yards across the field to number 5, even if he had the ability. In order for him to do that, you'll see it very quickly as a defender on this side. He'll push the ball, he'll look up, he'll see the player on the other side, number 5, right? He'll push the ball forward so he has space to run to get momentum for that long hit. And in that time, your team should be able to read and shift as a group and consume this area down here to stop them. Landon.
So you pass back to the goalie to reset a play that you think that won't work. So like,
well, this is what we need to do, right? So when we played that that EA team, that Elite Academy team, what they did was when we pressed them the exact way we pressed here, they didn't want to lose the ball. They wanted to keep possession. So what did their coach say? Rondo.
efficient.
He said rondo. That's their key word, to reset back, to keep the ball and not lose it and reset back. And we don't do that. Our team is, we need to improve our ability and confidence on the ball and be able to shield and protect the ball. And then B, to feel comfortable. So when, even if there's a guy running at you, you're not scared. You can't be scared. You want the ball. And the A option is if there's an open player, pass it, release pressure, take another angle, find another space between that triangle or behind the play so that you can receive it, right? And in the worst case scenario, our keepers haven't been wise to this yet. All they have to say is, hey, support, give the ball back, which what will happen if you give the ball back in this scenario? You give the ball, let's say they're attacking. We're pressing them for some reason, right? Or actually, let's do it the other way. We have the ball, and let's say they're just really good and they're trying to press us like right here, right? DM is covered. They're man marked. They're doing a really good job. They're doing a really good job. Let me see if I can reset this so that it looks like a normal play. Let's say they have us all covered, right? And this guy's standing in a way where he can cut off this pass and that. Keeper, come back here. Reset. You do this. Guess what they're going to do? If you do this and then the keeper moves to the middle, now they have to stay honest. Now they have to go back out to their man on the wing. They don't want that. He's here, right? Maybe he's pressing. Look what happens. He presses. This guy comes back here. Go ahead, press. He comes here, right? This guy shows up here. Now he's chasing you at this point. He's going to chase the ball. You release the pressure. This guy steps up. This guy steps over. He releases the pressure. Let's say this guy comes up. This guy moves back. Now look at the combination. He starts moving back. This guy stays here. He stays here as an outlet. And he goes, you know what? I don't want to lose the ball. The forward's covered. The other CM is covered. I'm going to play it back here. This guy now sees it. He runs here. He plays it to the keeper. Right? You always have the option to keep the ball. You, as a defender, you have to have the skills to feel comfortable on the ball, that irrespective. And even, let's say, even you're here and you can't get the ball back because he took such a good angle, you have two options. You can shield the ball, which we've worked on, right? Now he's in between you. What's he going to do? Run you over? And you progress it forward. And then you clear the ball. If everything is up, you clear the ball because there's no longer any option. Because losing it here is a one-on-one. You clear the ball down the field. Guess what's going to happen? They all turn around and they run back. They all turn around and they run back. Which then, what does this do? It releases the pressure on us. And now we reset. It's a very logical, simple game. You got to be intelligent with your decisions. If there is a choice between, I don't know what's going to happen, and if I lose it, they might score, or I don't know what's going to happen, and if I lose it, we might be at a huge disadvantage, I would rather you kick it down the field out of bounds. Do you understand? It's very important. We do not, and I said it's 3 times, play in our danger area. If it's in our danger area, it's hyper focus. Hyper focus. Get the ball out and then reset, because now they got to come at us again, right? If you sit inside the danger area and you let them play, it falls to someone, he's going to score. And it's the same thing for us on offense. If we are in doubt, just put it into the danger area. Throw it in here. Let the forwards come. Put the same pressure on the other team. Yeah, that's fine if the keeper gets it. We reset. We come back into our formation, tight in the middle, right? On offense, there's 5 lanes. I showed you that picture. On defense, there's 3. There's this lane and this lane. And we always outnumber the other team in the middle. We always outnumber the other team in the middle. You got to get this in your head. And what I'm going to work on with the coaches is we're going to come up with a couple of words. We don't want to give you too much information. We're going to give you, just like what that EA coach did. He said, rondo. Everybody knew exactly what rondo meant. Everybody, they got their shape, they dropped back, they support, they release pressure. They kept the ball, and then they came up again. It's no fun to run and chase the ball all game. It is not. Let's make the other team chase. Let's keep possession of the ball. You're not going to score every single time you get the ball. Our mentality, because we're so young in the game, is that every time I get it, if I get it here, I need to turn and go forward. No, if forward is not an option, go here. Whoops. Go out. Go across. Go 45. Right? It's easier to go 45 and 90 or even backwards 45 than it is to go straight up. This here is the hardest because every time you do this, you're running into a brick wall of defenders because they don't want you to. They feel the danger's on. What they'll do is they'll compress. They'll compress. And if you don't know how to release pressure, how do you release pressure? You go back or you break the angle at which they are running at you. You go an acute angle. An acute angle is this. This is an acute angle. This is 90 degrees. This is, I think it's obtuse, I think. But this angle allows a runner to run and chase you. But if you go up and back against the run of against their run, let's say two's running, he's going to run here. He has to stop at 0 to then reaccelerate here. He's not going to chase you. He's going to let you go, and he's going to sit in his position if he's smart.
45, 90.
Right? But if you do a 90, he can easily run like this and go. If you do this angle, he'll definitely be able to because his momentum is still there. He has not stopped. So how do you release pressure? You go up, you come back. And that's why our defenders need to have the first touch and the skills. All right, we're going to stop it there because I don't want to over stress too much some of these things, and we're at time. Do you understand what I was talking about today? It's extremely important to understand the triangles, right? When I say sit in a triangle, you sit in a triangle. When I say get a better angle, you can be directly 90 degrees behind them. Like Aaron, for example, I'm looking at you. That's why I see you. Aaron, you can sit there and be real close, or you can go 20 yards away, but still be in a support. So if he hits the ball back to you 20 yards, and it takes the other guy 15 yards to run to catch you, you got plenty of time. You got plenty of time to push it to the side, look up, take a drink. He's not going to get to you. And if the pressure is not there and there's no option, release pressure. Go far. It's okay. Until we're ready to play out the back and everybody has that skills, we play safe first, right? It's very hard to score a goal. It's very discouraging to let a goal in, right? So with that, I'll let questions come and then we can end the session. Yes. Jet, are you raising your hand? No? Okay. Anybody have a question? Lasai, when you're on the wing, I want you on the wing. I want you on the line. It will give you more time, right?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
If you say you're a winger, when you get the ball, like what out of 10 chances do you usually take your man?
It depends. I can't tell you that. You have to make the decision in your mind. What is the most advantageous place? If you're in your lower third and the other team, right, if you're in your defense and the other team is super compressed and you have the ability to push by them and run and force the entire team to chase back, go for it. But if the other team's sitting back and they're in good position and you're in your defensive third and you just got the ball and you decide to dribble, you're wasting your energy. I wouldn't dribble. My first thought is I'm not anywhere dangerous. Let's find the best way to get out of this danger. And then when I have an opportunity to help my team by putting the other team in pressure, that's when I dribble. It's easy. When I was over in Europe, they told me this, and it was a very simple way for me to break things down. When you're in the defensive third, find the open man immediately. 1 touch, 2 touch. When you're in the middle, play rondo, keep away. When you're in your final third, do whatever you think is correct to go and help your team score. If you think it's dribbling 5 guys and you think that's a smart idea for some reason, which typically it isn't, but I'm not saying that as a don't do it, right? If you have the ability to go, why not? And then you create chances. But chances are, what they said is in the final third is where you can show your creativity the most because you're the farthest away. If you make a mistake, you should get on that horse and chase that person down, all back, right? So concepts today, just in a nutshell. Defense, compress. And this is very important for the midfielders to tell your team to do this. Offense, get wide, fill the 5 lanes, right? Be within 10 yards of each other, fill the 5 lanes. When you stay compressed like this on the vertical front, it gives space behind the defense to run, right? And you're within very large triangle areas for you to sit and find the pass. Don't be so anxious to run at the ball. Don't run within 5 feet and then have the 5. If you run 5 feet away and I pass you here, it's very easy for a defender to just turn and guard both of you. Stay 10. Look for the angle at about 10 yards away. Then when you pass, you're going to run the other team ragged. That's what the other team did to you. And as a team, look for the 45-degree angle, whether you're dribbling or whether you're passing. If you are at this age, you're not scanning the field very much. You're not taking that mental picture. So if you're in doubt, start out at 45 because that becomes just a race. You're not having to go through anyone. It's just a race to a spot. And you can still protect the ball very easily, right? Okay, guys. That's all I have. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can ask at practice. Otherwise, I thank you for your time, and I'll post this for everyone that hasn't been able to watch. Bye now.